Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This session of Legally Speaking, What You Need to Know During the COVID-19 Pandemic with Zahava Schechter is being brought to you by the West Hempstead Public Library. Thank you for coming, and this session is being recorded.
Thank you very much, Roseanne, and the West Hempstead Public Library for bringing us informative, entertaining, and interesting programming during the COVID-19 crisis. Today is May 18th, 2020, and I will be presenting again, Legally Speaking, What You Need to Know During the Pandemic. Just as a quick disclaimer, no video program is a substitute for competent legal advice. I am not giving legal advice to any particular circumstance here, although you can feel free to reach out to me either during the program on the chat function or afterwards, either by email or by phone, and I will be happy to speak with you. So New York State, as you're aware, is still under a stay-at-home and pause order. They are modified, but here in Nassau County, in any case, we're in force until June 13th, 2020. As you know, society is opening up. We still need to wear masks. I wrote there, what about gloves? Because I read that the CDC is recommending that we wear gloves even when we're out and about. Certainly the wear the mask order is in place. The gloves, I don't believe is an order at this point, but we are opening up and we need to be very cautious when we're outside because so many more people are going to be out and about and near us and possibly exposing us to the disease. I just want to talk very briefly about testing. Per Governor Cuomo, anyone who has any possible COVID-19 symptoms may be tested. So you're encouraged to go get tested. Elective surgery has resumed in Suffolk and Westchester counties, but by order, not yet in Nassau County. And summer camps are on hold for now. I know there's a lot of discussion about what to do with the children, unfortunately, who have developed symptoms and in particular heart failure. And there's a question as to what will happen in summer camps. Right now, the order is they cannot open, but we'll see what happens. I want to talk about the census for a moment. Now is the time to be counted. We're home anyway, so we might as well be counted. The US Census happens every 10 years, and it will directly reflect how many members of the House of Representatives will represent Nassau County as well as Suffolk County, and how much federal funds we will receive. The greater the response, the greater our share will be. Here is how you get counted. The census website is there and the phone number. And I just want to say last week, Roseanne and I did a podcast, which was great about the census, and the website is there. In addition, I believe on the West Hempstead Public Library Facebook page, there is a reference to that. So if you have any questions, Roseanne gave a very informed and interesting presentation on the census and why we all need to be counted. Thank you, Roseanne. Remote notarization and witnessing continues. I've been doing this with my clients via audiovisual means, mainly Zoom, but also Skype, and that has been extended through June 6, 2020. I just want to say that some people have contacted me whom I don't know, even from West Hempstead, asking for me to notarize their signatures. My policy is I only notarize documents for either existing clients or people who have been clients in the past. Just because if I don't know you, then it's a little harder to verify who you are, even if you send me your ID. Other attorneys are not notarizing at all via audio video. I believe that some banks are still open and are providing notarization services. If you have a question about notarization, please feel free either to send me a chat or email me, and we can talk about that more. So in here in Nassau County, we're looking at a possible economic reopening in late June. What that means, I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. So let's go straight into the courts. Courts are opening for some new matters, but not all. As I've told you before, Nassau County courts are handling existing cases through Skype. Judges are trying to settle all of their backlog because attorneys, judges, alike are expecting an overflow of new cases to come into the system, and if there's a backlog of old cases which have not been dealt with, it's just going to make everything harder. New matters in Supreme Court, for example, personal injury cases, breach of contracts, your basic type of trial case. Again, in New York State, the Supreme Court is the lowest trial court. It's not the highest court, which is the Court of Appeals. But those kinds of cases, new matters, may not yet be filed. But as I speak with my colleagues and we receive updates regularly from the court system, I believe that will change soon. There are new motions in cases where the courts do not e-file, meaning electronically file. It's called EDDS. That applies to all Supreme Court cases where e-filing exists already. The one courthouse that's open in Nassau County remains the Nassau County Courthouse at 262 Old Country Road. Don't go there unless you absolutely have to. For non-criminal matters, as I've told you before, judges and court personnel generally are working from home. Court personnel is generally not available to the public, however, and sometimes to attorneys, but definitely not to the public. Nassau County Clerk's Office is open, at least partially, if you have a SCAR, Small Claims Assessment Review petition, to file because you filed a property grievance and either you did not get a reduction in your property assessed value, or you were not happy with the amount of the reduction. Now is the time to file that SCAR, and you need to follow the process very carefully. There are firms which handle that, and if you feel that it's too much, I would definitely speak to a firm, because if you do it wrong, then that will invalidate the process. But now is the time to file SCAR if you have that kind of a case. As we said, Supreme Court in some counties are not yet accepting new filings. Upstate, actually most of the state, Supreme Court has opened, not downstate and not yet in Buffalo, although I believe that is changing. Some other courts, including matrimonial centers, which are a division of the Supreme Court, are accepting new cases. So please check with your attorney. And as I told you before, the surrogates courts are supposed to be opening. We're going to talk about that. But right now, the only courts that I know, in fact, are accepting filings are surrogates court in Manhattan, Staten Island, and Suffolk County. Now, supposedly, as of today, May 18th, all surrogates courts in the entire state, again, surrogates court being the only court which has jurisdiction to deal with deceased persons, all surrogates courts are supposedly accepting new COVID-19 related petitions starting today. It's unclear how that's happening, and today is the first day, so I don't have more details. It is unclear whether non-COVID-19 petitions will be accepted. So if someone died during this period, during the stay-at-home period, but did not die of COVID-19, I believe the understanding is that you cannot file a petition at this point. Priority cases, including emergencies, we're coming back to criminal court. There are new arrests and new arraignments, but I want to say in most cases, except for very violent felonies, defendants are being given desk appearance tickets. That means they're not being incarcerated and cases are being adjourned. I've spoken to a number of colleagues who are criminal defense attorneys, and they tell me that the court system does not want to incarcerate anyone it doesn't have to, and unless it's a felony, a violent felony, the accused defendant is not going to be held. Family matrimonial, I participated in a Zoom call with colleagues who told me that, as I'm sure you've read, domestic violence is up. At least reports of domestic violence are up, and orders of protection have been requested at a greater rate than before. There are also a lot of visitation conflicts, either custodial parents who do not want the child or children to go to the non-custodial parent, or vice versa, coming back from a non-custodial visitation, problems with COVID-19 in either home. And obviously the situation is exacerbating every aspect of contested matrimonial actions. Child support is a big issue for people who have lost their jobs. They can file a modification petition to, in this case, downward reduce the amount of child support to be paid due to lack of employment, lack of income. Certainly all of these types of cases, you need to speak to a family or matrimonial attorney about. Mental health and guardianship matters. Some of these cannot wait, and people need direction and guardians to be appointed for them. These cases are being heard on a continuing basis. Let's talk about landlord-tenant matters. The governor's injunction against eviction of tenants is until at least August 2020. So that means if a tenant has not paid, whether residential or commercial, the tenant may not be evicted. So what is a landlord to do? So my colleagues who do a lot of landlord-tenant work tell me, get ready, because landlords are starting to prepare their documentation, and the process for eviction actually begins with giving 30-day notices and other opportunities to what's called cure or fix the problem. So there are things which landlords are doing, and at least one colleague has told me that landlords are suffering greatly, especially well, both residential and commercial, but large landlords who may have mortgages of their own and cannot pay their mortgages. So it's sort of a ripple effect. And while the attorneys are certainly understanding of the tenant situation, what is a landlord to do when the landlord has to pay mortgages and is relying upon that income, that rental income from tenants, which frankly is not coming now. So there is a reprieve for tenants, but it's unclear what landlords are going to do. I want to go through one more time about the stimulus checks. We've discussed this the past 2 weeks. Everyone has received, presumably, the $1,200 check up to a certain adjusted gross income. If you have not received that, you should definitely be looking into why, because I believe at this point everyone has received it. Is someone who died in 2020 entitled to this check? So the answer, generally speaking, is no, per the Secretary of the Treasury. If the recipient, and these are the words used, died before receipt of the payment, then payment or a portion thereof, if it came to a married couple, must be returned. The address on your screen in Holtzville is the address to which a refund check should be sent. The check is payable to the U.S. Treasury. This is if you have already cashed the check. If you have not cashed the check, you just write void on the check and mail it back to the IRS. However, I want to again state that the stimulus check, which has been received on behalf of someone who died prior to the receipt of the check, that stimulus check must be either returned with void written on the check, or it must be refunded by means of a new check. It cannot be kept. Social Security payments, I spoke about that too. If someone died during the month, the payment for that month must be repaid, and that does not apply to Medicare. What do you do about an excess Social Security payment? I would call the number that's on your screen or go to the website. There are other options as I list there, but they are not as good. Residential transactions. So these transactions are definitely more numbered. There's a lot of activity right now in the real estate market. And as society is opening up, we will see more properties being listed. Is this a good time to list your house or purchase one? So it's very important to have a real estate broker and attorney online. I am not a real estate broker, but I can tell you that at this period, during this period of uncertainty, a real estate broker is truly essential now for the success of your transaction. There is really no way to see a house in person. However, virtual open houses are occurring and houses are definitely selling. I can tell you that because I have a number of deals in contract right now. Properties which had been taken off the market are coming back. Values are fairly stable, so you want to price your house well. There is a greater demand in Nassau County as well as in the Hamptons as buyers come from New York City who have been staying in very cramped quarters for a long time. This is a great time for qualified first-time home buyers as mortgage rates are low, but just be aware buyers need a higher FICO score to qualify. And at this point, I would like to introduce Elisa Rosen, who is a licensed salesperson with Douglas Elliman, who is going to speak to us about the market here in West Hempstead. Just give me one moment, please, and I'm going to unmute her. Elisa?
Yes, hi.
Great. Okay, so now let me stop sharing. There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elisa Rosen. I'm a licensed realtor with Douglas Elliman, Franklin Square office. So the prices of homes in this area have stayed similar to the pre-COVID prices. This is because the supply of homes on the market has stayed consistently low. Because this area is popular for first-time home buyers, we are seeing more buyers coming in from rentals and small apartments throughout New York and beyond, looking for more space and a better quality of life that is possible in this area. Buyers are also attracted to the possibility of owning a home because of low mortgage rates. For example, 3.25% on a 30-year conventional fixed mortgage. Real estate agents are developing new ways to photograph, market, and show homes during the pandemic. Agents are using professional photographers that have received approval as an essential business from Empire State Development. The use of 3D video walkthrough with floor plan allows buyers to do a virtual walkthrough, view, and even look at measurements for each room and level of the home. Virtual open houses can be scheduled on any day and advertised on the multiple listing service, as well as popular real estate sites like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Trulia. In fact, my partner and I will be hosting a virtual open house today at 4 p.m. at my listing, 77 Brooklyn Avenue, here in West Hempstead. Having a relationship with a knowledgeable licensed realtor who is up to date with current regulations, practices, and has a strong understanding of their market areas is especially important in these uncertain times. If anyone has any questions about anything I've said here, please feel free to call, text, or email me. And this is just, I mean, you can't see the card, but
No,
I think
but what is your phone number, Elisa?
917-613-2614.
Again, can you repeat that?
Yeah, 917-613-2614.
And can you speak to the West Hempstead real estate market? How are we poised in comparison to other communities in Nassau County?
I would say West Hempstead is, as there's a whole bunch of towns surrounding West Hempstead, and they're all very similar in attracting the first-time home buyer market. So I service Franklin Square, Valley Stream, Malvern. Even the 5 towns is a little less in first-time home buying, but let's see, definitely the Valley Stream, Elmont is popular for people coming from the city and beyond looking for more space. And that's going to be more important now, especially in this crisis. They've been cooped up for a long time in homes, and I'm seeing people really kind of desperate to get into a home. I have buyers calling me on one of my new listings, and it actually has a pool, and they're especially attracted to that. It's like a magnet.
Especially Echo Park is closed.
Right.
So if you have a pool, that's a very nice thing to have in the summer. Does anyone who is participating on the call have a question for Elisa? If you do, we can unmute you.
Okay, I don't see anything. If someone's trying to contact us, you can chat, or we'll give you another moment or two if you have a question for Elisa. Or if not, you can call her afterwards or text her, and I'm sure she'd be happy to speak with you about the market. Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much, Elisa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zahava. Thank you.
Okay, and now I need to share my screen again. Hold on a minute. Okay, great. So here we go. One of the questions that I had last week was about estate administration and what happens if a family member dies. How do you handle the affairs? So the first question is, did the decedent, that's the person who passed, did the decedent leave a will, which is really a last will and testament? If so, the nominated executor, that person listed in the will, probates the will in the surrogate's court in the county where the decedent resided. So that's an address on your driver's license, your tax return, etc. not where you have a vacation home or not where you happen to be at the time of your passing, but where you actually resided. If there is no will, an administration petition may need to be filed in that surrogate's court. And I just want to say before we go on, when you have a will and you want to probate the will, it is faster, it is less expensive, and it is much easier to do so with the will than without. And in fact, what I'm hearing from the courts and from my colleagues who have been able to deal with probate petitions upstate is the courts are looking for the simplest situations now. If there's what's called a will contest, people are objecting to a will, or if there's no will, the courts are pushing those files to the side and waiting until the simpler wills go through. Are your legal affairs in order? So let's talk again about if you're thinking of leaving money to someone who receives Medicaid, SSI, or other governmental assistance, be very careful, because that assistance may throw the person off the government roll. The 3 basic documents for estate planning: healthcare proxy, durable power of attorney, and last will and testament. I've gone through these. If you have questions, let me know. Once again, long-term care insurance is very important. If you're healthy and if you qualify, it is a very important form of estate planning and really a blessing to your family. I encourage everyone to check beneficiary designations on all bank, brokerage, and retirement accounts, as well as insurance policies. You are the only one who can do so. Please name your primary beneficiary as well as a contingent beneficiary if something happens to the primary. And that's it. I have no further presentation. If anyone has questions, let me know. I understand from the library our next program will be in 3 weeks on June 8th. So I just hope everyone is well, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Zahava.